Yo, what's going on guys, it's MMA HeadSpace back with another video, and today I'll be talking about the DC Stipe rematch, a highly anticipated bout coming up this weekend, and judging from the last fight, it's going to be a barn burner and a lot of people are going to tune in. Firstly, let's get into the tail of the tape for Daniel Cormier. Big DC has 22 wins, 1 loss and 1 no contest. 2 of those losses, or the 1 loss and the 1 no contest, come to Jon Jones. So say what you will, he kind of lost the last fight. Jon Jones was caught for using steroids, so a lot of people aren't counting that as a real loss due to Jon Jones taking those steroids or whatever it was. But DC's back now. After that fight, he actually beat Stipe for the heavyweight championship, moving up in 1 weight class. Since then, Jon Jones has come back to the light heavyweight division. He's reclaimed that title there, whilst DC is just the heavyweight champion now. So he's looking to defend his heavyweight belt, and then if he gets past Stipe, which we don't know if he will, then maybe he'll fight Jon Jones again for a unification of the 2 divisions at the top of the UFC there. On the other hand, we get into Stipe's record here. He has 18 wins and 3 losses. 1 of those losses comes from DC already, and what normally happens in the case of a rematch is the person who lost the first time is going to lose again, because the other person has simply got their number. We've seen that time and time again in the UFC. However, that might not be the case for DC Stipe 2. Reasons being, it was a 1-round knockout. Before we saw that, we didn't see a lot of the fight, but we saw that Stipe was doing quite well, boxing at range, but he was being very aggressive. And if you look at title fights, the way to win really is to be very passive. You see a lot of really successful champions being very passive. So for example, Tyron Woodley, he would really just be a reactive fighter, whereas before when he was fighting for the title, he was really aggressive. Shevchenko last weekend against Karamush, very passive, but made the best of the exchanges and made sure it looked like to the judges that Karamush just didn't do enough, wasn't active enough, wasn't the aggressor. Because when you go in as the challenger, you've got to take someone's title. And what Stipe did in that last fight is he really gave DC the opportunity to do that by clinching up, which led to him losing the fight ultimately and getting knocked out, which was pretty brutal as well. Might have the power, might aesthetically look better, but the short stocky guys with the belly are the ones that are packing the punch and getting those quick flurries in that knock people out. So one thing that they say is that it's a punch that you don't see coming that knocks you out. Well, that might be true against Stipe in the first fight, because they broke up from the clinch, and when he was executing that shot, he didn't see it coming and it knocked him out. DC also landed a pretty heavy eye poke just before the knockout. So be on the lookout for eye pokes in this fight. See if DC has adjusted to not be as dirty in this fight. We just don't know what's going to happen in terms of whether there's going to be eye pokes, whether there's not. But I'm sure that the ref for this fight has seen that and will be giving warnings before the fight and during the fight, and maybe even taking points if it does happen again. So hopefully some more kind of serious consequences, because as I was saying, it's a punch you don't see coming that knocks you out. And if you get eye poked like that, and 30 seconds later you get knocked out, you have to question whether that was a direct cause of the knockout coming, or if it was genuinely just DC's amazing skills in the clinch and exiting with that dirty boxing. But I guess we'll get the answers to all these questions in the next fight on Saturday, and I just can't wait. So for the time being, let's get into Stipe. What does he do well? So Stipe Miocic I like to view as a very good, well-rounded fighter. Which means that he's not bad anywhere. I haven't seen much jiu-jitsu from him, but what I have seen is wrestling and boxing. He's got that kind of combination of styles. So with the boxing, he was a Golden Gloves champion, which means that he's got really good technique. And not only that, he can set up traps and things on the feet, and then he can kind of punch moving forwards, moving backwards. We saw that against Fabricio Verdum. And in terms of wrestling, he can hang in there with the top guys. We saw that against DC in the first fight. They had a bit of a clinch and a little bit of wrestling in there. He actually got the best of those exchanges in wrestling, in my opinion. You might not think the same, so just tell me in the comments. But I think that he is actually the better wrestler than DC in some aspects. Maybe not in terms of how many awards he's got, maybe not in terms of the competition that he's faced, but he can definitely hold his own against DC, in my opinion, having seen what I've seen in the first fight. However, one thing that we do see with Stipe is that he can come in on like two different occasions, two completely different fighters. So sometimes he'll be this aggressive guy like we saw in the DC fight, wanting to clinch, wanting to engage with those brawls and things like that. And then against someone like Ngannou, he can implement a game plan where he's just very wrestling heavy, keeping distance on the feet, almost tentative with the jab, and then coming over with a cross just to counter. He can definitely fight in different ways. And I think the one thing that Dan Hardy said really well on the Inside the Octagon episode was that Stipe came into the fight with DC very, very aggressive. And as a champion, you should be more defensive and wait for them to make the step forward. And if he does that against DC in a rematch, we might see a different result. And Stipe keeps saying the rematch will be different, it's going to be a completely different fight. I think that his strategy this time will be very tentative. I think that he's going to wait, be a bit more patient, and maybe he'll get the knockout on DC. I genuinely don't think this fight will go the same way. I think it will definitely go past the first round, and I think that Stipe is going to be very careful to make sure that he doesn't get knocked out in the first round as well. So he's going to be less likely to engage in those clinches, and DC is going to have to work more to initiate them. And that's what his plan is going to be. Make you work to initiate it on me. I'm going to stay behind my jab, I'm going to stay far away from you. And that might be enough, just to run away with the title on a decision win, or potentially get the knockout when it comes. So we just don't know, because it seemed like when they were boxing at a distance in that first fight, Stipe was kind of piecing him up, to be honest, from the outside. And they were exchanging as well, which I was surprised at. I was surprised at their willingness to exchange. I think DC at heavyweight just has so much confidence in his ability to knock people out. And I think that Miocic has that belief in himself as well. And so that's why they kind of butted heads in the middle and had a proper brawl. But this time I think it's going to be different, but I don't know who's going to win. So you guys tell me your opinions. I gave you mine. I'm by no means trying to say that my opinion is your opinion. I'm by no means trying to get you to have the same opinion as me. What I really want to do is open a discussion. If you haven't already, then like and subscribe to the channel will really help me out. And let's get this discussion going. Who do you think is going to win? What's your reason why? And what did you see in the last fight that maybe I missed? What did you see kind of in DC or Stipe's fighting style, which you think gives him the edge over the other? And do you think that it's going to go the same way or a different way? Let me know, guys. I've been MMA HeadSpace. You've been amazing as always, and peace out.